No adult males really came. The adult mothers came, didn't really ask for assistance. Not many teenagers came. And mothers came, they brought mostly small children. And we couldn't understand this because it's famine, there's a medical team from outside, what do you do? Then we realized you have to triage. So we walked to the queues, we pointed to the child looked okay, we did this, do this. The mother walked out and they smiled. They gave a big smile and they walked out. So we tried, let's try it again. And all the teams started doing that. And then eventually the patients got on, and the parents got on. They pointed to the child, they said this, they smiled and they walked out. They couldn't understand what that was going on here. That evening when we sit, when I take my teams, we have supper together. With you from the media, my teams, the guys from DIRCO or President's Office travel with us, they all sit together. And everybody has to give information. And media like to big things. You must use them to get information. So, in any case, Tulasizwe Sibalane, he was with SABC Radio at that time. He comes and says, Dr. Suleiman, I went to the villages, 3 to 5 people, children were dying and doing a place called Tilaberi. I said, stop. I understand what happened. The people of Niger made the supreme sacrifice. They didn't come for a treatment for all the big adults because they knew our resources were limited. So they sacrificed themselves so you could save that child that was sick. And other people walked out, not running when the next doctor team's going to come. Because they said, you need to see the other patients that are sick. And our doctors saw a lot of sick children, which they sorted out because of the sacrifice of the people of Niger. So what happens in the next mission? I'll come back to this mission. What people think about us in Africa? We land in Pakistan. The military comes to us and says, do you mind not going to the earthquake? So we asked them, which hospital are you going to need? He says, the Cantonment Hospital of Rawalpindi. He says, you understand? I said, yes, I understand. The bomb was in the mountains, thousands had died. Medical facilities were destroyed. Doctors had all gone. So there was no way to go into the mountain. So I asked the military guy, can you give me helicopters to take the teams in the mountain to stabilize? We'll split the teams, some in the mountain, some to the hospital. And they say, sorry, all helicopters on urgent missions. In disasters, you got to think on your feet. So we looked at the airport, we walked around, they say, American Air Force. Let's go to these guys. So we walked in, I see a big black guy standing in front of the helicopters. I said, my brother, and where are you from? He said, I'm from America. I said, you're black. You're not from America. You're from Africa. He said, yes, yes, I'm from Africa. So I said, me too, I'm from Africa. We brothers, we have each other. So I need a favor. So like, what kind of favor you need? I said, I need a helicopter. Helicopters in 2 minutes. Wow. If I left the government to talk to the government, I'd still be waiting for the helicopter. So the guys go to the mountain and we walk into the Cantonment Hospital of Rawalpindi. The stench of gangrene, the stench of death, no IV lines, nothing. The people are in difficulty. The superintendent comes and says the hospital is shutting down. We said, you guys are crazy. We give them a shopping list. Whilst we're doing that, the clever northern country NGOs come. Oh, where are you guys from? I understand Afrikaans speaking guy, English speaking guy, Xhosa guy, Zulu guy, Hindu guy, Muslim guy. Can't understand this. You see, when the Chinese, they all look the same. You know, they're from China. All from South African, all mixed up. They can't understand. We say we're from South Africa. Oh, you're from Africa. What did you come for? What did you come to collect? You guys are always looking for free things. They look at us in that way. The people of Niger showed what sacrifice is all about. They showed what humanity and compassion is all about. They don't know that about us. I told them these words. Tell them to yes, and let's come back. Within 2 to 4 hours, our team converted the hospital that was shutting down into a 400-bed emergency hospital. And our teams worked day and night doing 75 operations a day, for which the Pakistan president gave us a presidential award in 2006. Something else happened in that year. There's a lady from Pretoria University. Her name is Karina Extian. She calls and she says, I want to give service to the people of Pakistan. I'm a spinal rehab specialist. Afrikaner, white, Christian. I'm saying it deliberately because we need to break this race mentality in our country. And she says, I want to go to Pakistan. So I tell her, Karina, when would you, she spoke to Jacob, I think. When would you want to go to Pakistan? He says, Christmas. I said, you can't be feeling well. Christian lady, Afrikaner, it's Christmas time. You want to go to Pakistan to a Muslim country in Christmas? He said, I got to leave any other time. So I said, okay, go. We make the arrangements. She makes people walk. She brings a child home to South Africa. to have a child, but she gives them incredible service. The military cries, the doctors cry, the nurses cry, the patients cry, the family cries. One person from South Africa could change the heart of another religion and other people just from pure service. That's the language of the heart the spiritual teacher was talking about. Then came what's missing. Ahmed came in and said, Ahmed was on that mission. And he said, we need search and rescue teams. Search and rescue is first, medical is second. And we then put together a search and rescue team. In 2010, 12 January 2010, the earthquake hits Haiti. 40 seconds, 250,000 people wiped away. We put the teams together, Ahmed organizes it, and now they are about to fly out. So we go to the French consul in Johannesburg, Deco arranges it, and without people being there, quickly we get the visas in 10 minutes, Schengen visa. What is good. We got it for free. You know, we Indians, we like to do things. So we give Air France the business. And I tell Air France, will you get my team to Port-au-Prince? They said, yes. I said, no, you won't. They said, yes, you will. I said, no, you won't. So I said, give that to me in writing. If you are guaranteed in writing, which airline is guaranteed in writing? I knew the airport is going to close. So Ahmed and the team go happily, and the police come and send the airport, they jump in the plane, they're flying. In the meantime, I said, this is not going to be, we need plan B. So I phoned the Catholic Society of Johannesburg. And the guy answers the phone. I said, oh, I don't know, I need the Pope. So the guy can't speak for a couple of seconds. Why does the mission I need the Pope? So I say, hey, are you Christian guys not connected? You listen, you connected all over the world. So I said, what do you want the Pope for? So I said, I need a Catholic agency to bring my teams in the Dominican Republic and take them across into Haiti. So he says, okay, I'll be back in 3 hours. Caritas and Catholic Relief Services, CRS, will meet you in Dominican Republic. I'm at the team then, I'm waiting for the phone call. We got a problem. I said, I know, Port-au-Prince is closed. Your flight is in 2 hours. You're flying to Dominican Republic. Here's the contact. We get to Dominican Republic. I'm looking to give some of the final details, and we can focus on one mission. Gets there, go up, South African team, welcome. Accommodation, food, transport, bottled water, visas, they take them across. And Ahmed and his team make world history on 20 January 2010. Ahmed, I'll leave that to you. You can speak about what happened on 20 January 2010. Fast forward. I don't take up too much of time, but just to finish off something. We had primary healthcare, then we had trauma, we had post-rehab, we brought in trauma counselors, we brought in search and rescue, we brought in dogs, and we did something else. We have the most modern equipment for medical intervention and for search and rescue. In Somalia, in 3 hours, our team set up an entire hospital, including ICU and theater, in 3 hours, including oxygen and everything else. We do tents, blankets, and medicines. We do food, we do hospital upbuilding, medical support, medical equipment, agriculture, and in spaces of social negotiations. We're the only team in the world that do all of the above. Everybody else, to some or some parts of it, we're the only guys in the world that do all of the others and above, and we can do it simultaneously. It gives credit to the institutions where we come from. Our parents who paid for our studies, those companies who gave bursaries, your own effort that you put in, the lecturers and my professor, and the other professors who taught us, and the spirit that we learned from our religions and our society to go back and make a difference. Or I'd say something else about, I don't know, spoil Ahmed's story. So all these things were done. But by 2000, after we went to Nepal, and we went to, I'll tell you one more story in Nepal. When we went across, I went to a time that I was not going with, because I told Ahmed, and then now you guys go, Ahmed, just tell them about the shark in Philippines. I told them, get quickly. Oh, I don't know what we need. I will explain to you. In any case, so we get to Nepal, and the guys say, your search and rescue teams can go anywhere. And medical teams cannot work in a government institution. So our mission is dead even before it starts. And Ahmed and then went on their own. Because it's now to give the lighties, the young guys, the opportunity to lead the missions without me. But I'm not going to live forever. So, and already the guys are leading the missions without me. We're passing the skills on, and they know the system. So the Nepalese government says, we got a problem. You guys can't. So our guys now use their head. They said, you see, we got South African doctors who travel in Nepal, and we brought them, they trained in Nepal, so they came and they got like part of your country. We've got Middle East doctors who train in South Africa and we live there, so they're also part of your country. And we've got South African doctors who train in South Africa, and now that's gray zone. So let's have a discussion and you guys watch what we do. We tell you how department, you do the minder and watch what we do. If we decide, we stay in the hospitals. If we don't decide, we leave. So the guys watch. And after a while, we said the South African team can work any hospital in Nepal because of their skill. Credit to our teams, and we're the only team in the world that is allowed that. And we said one more thing, please take our doctors home and train them in South Africa. So 2016, I killed all international marketing because you guys, media, KNCA, SABC, PL, Network24, like sensational stories. So we killed the media and we said, no, we won't kill the missions, we'll just kill the media. I want South Africans to focus on what is local. So June 2017, the fire comes in Knysna. We send in 2 ladies, project managers. ShopRite give us the whole car park. These 2 ladies supervised the packing of 20,000 food hampers, blanket distribution, hygiene packs, and distribute to the different areas. Jacob and the teams come, I think you were too, isn't it? The medical teams go. I tell you also with for gynecology team. The specialist teams come, the medical teams come, advanced life support ambulance come, advanced life support paramedics come. We will be able to have the firefighters. We support the firefighters twice a day with water and energy biscuits, every 1,200 of them. And the teams come to give medical help. They deliver, I think one of you deliver their babies, isn't it? And then the patients from Knysna to the other hospitals. While doing that, the people say, you know, you're taking care of the people, but what about the cat and the dog? So I said, what about the cat and the dog? They said, yeah, I already don't have pet food. So I arranged a container of pet food. Then somebody comes and says, she does a drought here. Now, what about the cattle, the sheep, the dog, I mean, the horse and the pig? We need fodder for them. I said, anything else? Yeah, the elephant in the elephant park. And the wild, the animal in the wild. So I said, oh, this is becoming a little complicated. So we get the stuff and we give all of them the stuff. We provide it for all those animals. Then I walk into his checkers for car park, and a guy called Grant walks in. He says, you know, I've just come, but I didn't get sugar. So I said, Andy, did the man not get sugar? Yes, doctor. The sugar got finished, but it's coming just now. So I said, Grant, the sugar is coming just now. It's not for me. Then what's it for? It's for the bees. I really thought the guy had too much. I said, bees take sugar. I will get honey from the beginning to eat sugar for us. So I said, oh, just a sugar for the bees. I don't know what that is talking about. I go away to England. I said, no, we never leave a story incomplete. We've got to follow it through. So I said, Raj, you better come back tomorrow morning to come explain the story to me. So he comes with 2 other people. He tells me an incredible story. He said, you see, the fire is very big because there's a drought here. So the plants that the bees feed on, dead. So the bees didn't have much plant to feed on. When the fire came, it wiped out 300 beehives. Each beehive has 75,000 to 80,000 bees. We lost 22 million bees. And he said the South African, the Cape honeybee is the most versatile bee in the world. It is haploid and diploid, meaning that if the queen bee dies, it makes its own queen bee. So I said, how does the sugar got to do with this? He says, in the absence of the plant, you give them a pollen nectar substitute, but that is too expensive. The last solution is a generic sugar solution. And you give them that. And it's not ideal, but under the circumstances, the best we can do. I said, I'll give you money to buy the plants, but they were not going to grow tonight. They were going to take time to start growing them now. I'll give you 3 beehives, I'll give you the pollen nectar, and I'll give you 20 tons of sugar. The research center has been set up. People go there, professors go there, students go there, academics go there, and everybody learns about bees. And they're now training young people how to do beekeeping, how to take bees from everywhere. It's something, it's a price thing, this bee. And that happened. And once that is happening, we're going to call, I'm going to stop here. The call came from Sutherland to say the animals are dying. There's no fodder. The sheep count, the Badino sheep dropped from 440,000 to 31,000. Farm workers lost their jobs. We sent in fodder and we drove 238 barrels at our cost to save the farmers. For the first time in January this year, we sent in 45 pellets, like the 45 nutritional products, we sent in 45 products to help those farmers. And for the first time from January this year, the sheep count is starting to come up. and the laborers are being employed again. And the final thing, in 2020, we got involved with COVID. And we know, those of you from government, to get into help a government hospital is like a nightmare, it's like a crime. You can't give things for free. You can't sell things to help in the government. It's a nightmare. It's not allowed. It's treason. So the call comes by Musa to Chris Hani, Alan Joseph, Hospital in Benchaman, George Bukhari, Shadi Hospital. You guys started the virus here. Although the first one was by me, Newton. But we kept him under control. Look at him already now. So in any case, they phoned and they said we want the stuff. I started delivering with our teams came. As when someone announced the lockdown, we already had PPEs in the country. We put in our own testing teams. We joined labs and other guys were charging $12.50. We brought the price down to $4.50 for the 3CR testing. We got the machines and we joined the laboratories and we started doing that. We put in 37 tents to triage in hospitals so patients are kept on the outside so infection doesn't spread. Testing teams, triage, PPEs, started delivering to the hospitals. Later on, we brought in high-flow nasal oxygen machines, video microscopes, and we delivered 3,000 CPAP machines all over the country. Besides upgrading hospitals, putting in more holes, putting beds, dedicated COVID wards, upgrading the ICUs, we did all that in a period of time and putting 12,000 scrubs in the different hospitals. So then one clever guy from Gauteng Health calls me. He says, to deliver to the hospital, you could have an MOU. And you could write a letter to us to do this. I said, my friend, you guys don't understand 3 words. Urgency, emergency, and disaster. You got 10 seconds, yes or no. And I said, no, carry on. Don't do anything, let's go. 210 hospitals we delivered stuff to in South Africa. In November of 2020, Professor Justin Jonas calls me. He had sent me an email, I don't do emails. Send me an email, and he calls me and he says, we've got a problem. I mean, at that time, I was standing in Pine Level Hospital. It was a beta wave and they were dropping. They had the toxics. Dropping dead in front of you, dropping in the car, dropping in the casualty, dropping in the home. And nobody had oxygen delivery devices. The ventilators, you've got to go in ICU. There's not enough ICU beds, and we know they were not very effective. We need oxygen delivery devices. Ibrahim Patel, Minister of Trade and Industry, had asked the engineers and the scientists to get together. They got together and they made the CPAP machine for South Africa one, 12,500 rand. A government minister asked for it. A government with the SK telescope we got together. CSIR manufactured it, government department. SAPRA approved it, a government department. Solidarity paid 250 million rand for it, a government department. So I said, where's the problem? He said, we can't get into the government hospital. I said, you're not making sense. The government ordered something, the government manufactured it, the government approved it, the government paid for it, and the government can't give the government money. No, I said, you got a transport problem. He said, no, you got a blocking problem. Somebody is blocking the problem, you're blocking the machines. I said, where's the machines? He said, here, keep I said, send them. I said, put their machine on, don't ask for them this permission. Just put it on. After 1 hour, they said it's working, saved 2 lives. I went to Kailis, I said, let's try another hospital. Gave them 4 machines, they came back to me, it's working. We put a message on the Eastern Cape to Business. All the CEOs said, we want it. We delivered 900 CPAP machines in 48 hours. The CEOs of the hospitals waiting at night. I said, the money will get lost. No one's going to tell us what to do. I don't need anybody's permission to save lives. The CEOs came and they put the machines on the patients. Monday morning, we get a call from the CEO from Kala Hospital. He's laughing. They laughs in COVID. He's laughing Monday morning. He said, I'm the happiest man today, me and my staff. Every day since April, we've been counting the dead people every Monday. The job of counting the dead people in our wards every Monday. This is the first Monday nobody died. The machine saved the lives of our people. Ladies and gentlemen, doctors, we got to stand up and do what is right. We don't need anybody's permission, and I tell the government, this country does not belong to you. This country belongs to me and 65 million people. We take ownership of the country and we fix it ourselves. You can't deliver, you got 3 years to fix it up. But we, on the other hand, can't complain. Don't say there's a pothole in the road and the light is not working and the water is not coming. We take ownership and we fix it. Because to be fair to them, 7 million people, Texas, can't look after 65 million people. It's impossible. If Australians run the country, the Americans run the country, the Canadians run the country, the Germans run the country, we all going to have the same problem. 7 million people, Texas can't look after 65 million people. So let's be the people that we are, us buying from corporates, stop the public, let's do it ourselves and fix what we can. We have to tell government, fix the corruption, fixed money given to the wrong people, giving contracts to the wrong people, wasting money, because who's suffering? The people in the rural areas in South Africa. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, children are dying every day of malnutrition in Eastern Cape. They die of hunger. Why? Because it's very normal to be starving in the Eastern Cape. So the parents don't understand the symptoms and signs of malnutrition. So they don't bring the kids to the hospital. When they bring the child to the hospital, it's too late, they die. At one stage, 163 died in one day. That's happening in Eastern Cape. We're putting an easy peanut paste and fortified product. We're distributing it. The company from Norway saw it on our social media pages. They called us and they sent in 15 containers to us for free. It's worth 25 million rand. We are now distributing it with the health department in Eastern Cape, working with the NEC and the dietitians. And we're going to the areas and we're educating the people about some of the signs of malnutrition because they don't know, because how they're so normal in the Eastern Cape. We as South Africans have to hold hands. Across color, government can't do it alone. I try to look all the time, but it's about the interests of the people. We hold hands together, corporates, other South Africans, and a simple teaching. Whoever does an atom's weight of good shall see it. Let's just do that. Teams, people, the US teams, thank you very much. You guys have been a great sort of support. You guys have done medical support the countries we've been to. The academic institutions you've trained, but people have supported us during COVID. You were not on our teams, but you worked with us in COVID. The CEOs of hospitals, the heads of department, everybody. And thank you very much once again for setting this up. Thank you very much, everybody. Captain Sokama.
I think as many times as I've heard Imtiaz speak, he always seems to touch something new in your heart, inspiring, your hair stands on end. I mean, an amazing speaker, an amazing story. You know, the missions volunteers will, tell you tons of stories if you speak to them about how Imtiaz guides us and makes the right decisions. He says his teacher told him, my brother Asad was on a mission with Livan in Libya during the bombing and the uprising. And anyone who knows Livan knows El Toro. But Asad prepared a patient for an orthopedic operation in one of the hospitals, so he just put him under. And Imtiaz comes in and says, no, we need to go 5 minutes and we're leaving the hospital. So Livan looks at Asad and says, we just got the patient prepped, ready to go. I mean, Asad says, well, let's wake him up. And Imtiaz says, let's go. And they back up out of that hospital and they leave. And the Imtiaz comes, not an hour later, that exact hospital was bombed by himself, flattened. So, when Imtiaz knows something, he knows, and you have to trust his knowledge, and he has that connection that can guide. And, he says he gives the lighties to lead missions, where it's the most stressful thing ever. Going to Nepal with Imtiaz, I think I had which I don't know. And I don't think I have that type of guidance, but he's a blessed man. And I'm now going to call on Dr. Yaqub Ishaq to talk a bit about the medical missions, the family physician, and one of the medical team leaders. Dr. Ishaq. In the name of God, beneficent and merciful. Universal salutations to all his messengers. Yes, Professor Shabir Mahdi, Imtiaz, friends and colleagues. Qasim has given me 5 minutes to talk about medical missions over 30 years. Qasim is very, very kind and has always been so kind. My best friend. In 1991, I met Imtiaz at a meeting where we were discussing a mission in Mozambique, and we had to raise some funds. So he prepared a speech to be given at different mosques on one Friday across the country, and we raised 1 million in half an hour. It was at that time I realized that forget about the medical missions, but this is a man on a mission. It was an incredible thing. So it was no surprise that a year later, that Imati Sheikh, and he was chosen and mandated to form Waqful Waqifin, Gift of the Givers. A colossal task, and has he not delivered.
1993, he commissioned the first mobile hospital containerized in the world, and you've heard about that. So it was only a matter of time before the human component was going to be added to those medical missions. In 2001, a small team went to Afghanistan over a period of 3 months. Gift of the Givers was not physically involved, but we funded that post 9/11 mission. So the seeds for medical missions were being planted slowly. And then in 2003, another small medical team, including Imtiaz, delivered medical equipment and supplies in Iraq, and then came Niger. A cargo plane landed in Niamey, the capital of Niger, full of medicines, pediatricians, media, dietitians, and GPs. The first obstacle was that the political elite at the time and the authorities denied that there was a job. Just, and here we see Imtiaz in action. As he said, he knows. He refused to accept any barrier. He made sure that with his diplomacy and his forthrightness, he got us into the most remote of areas to serve a community that was in dire need, which we've heard the description of right now. And then comes 2005, where Pakistan earthquake took place. Different components and the scope of work is now increased. So the technical ability had to be increased. So we had specialists, subspecialties, trauma specialists, and plastic surgeons. But at the same time, you needed appropriate equipment and medical supplies for that. And Qasim has developed an essential medicine list that is specific to Gift of the Givers. And even the World Health Organization list cannot match that because it covers almost everything. We have a logistics center that was developed as a result of that to make sure that the preparedness is ready within 24 hours. And with this kind of growth and rapid capacity building, we needed a core team. We could no longer do this ad hoc. So this core team, and many of you sitting here are part of that core team, was developed and it has only grown and grown. But what makes that special volunteer of the Gift of the Givers? What characteristics bring about that volunteer? The volunteer list is almost endless. People put their name down in that volunteer list. We cannot cope. It's oversubscribed. And why is it so? When you go on a mission, we are given 24 to 36 hours to put your name on the list. And that list, we cannot actually cope with it. The database just keeps growing. But one particular thing happens when you want to go on a mission. You either have to get permission from your wife, your spouse, your husband, your partner. So you kind of need a visa. It's not any ordinary visa. What's the carrier? It's not any ordinary airline. The carrier is Gift of the Givers. The pilot is Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman. Your currency is not any forex. It is the inherent currency that comes from within. Your qualities, it gets unlocked. The qualities of compassion, tenderness, love, care, empathy. That makes the volunteer. But it's not just a simple volunteer. He's an adaptable volunteer. Our specialists are taught and know for a fact that they can go to any area, but they must forget the speciality for a while. Orthopedic surgeon has to know what an acute abdomen is. A pediatrician needs to know how he's going to treat an adult patient. And those are the special qualities. There's adaptability. In Philippines, the team got to the theater and found out that there was no drill. So the coordinating team went to the local hardware store and bought a Black & Decker drill. I'm not advertising Black & Decker, but the drill was fantastic and did the job. So those are the qualities of the volunteer. And you volunteers all know that this is an addiction. When you join the team, you can never leave it. And I'm sure you're all having withdrawal symptoms now that you haven't been out for a while. But please don't pray to go because you don't want another disaster. But this is an addiction that you know, and you're part of the special team, the medical team. It really has special qualities. And I don't believe any other team ever in the world has these kind of qualities because there is the spirit of what we call barakah. And I can mention where that comes from. It comes from the spirituality from the origins. And that is always present in every team because there are no barriers. We have so many difficulties, but those barriers just break down each time. But there's always a legacy too. In Nigeria, we wonder, why do you take the media? It's not to show off, because the authorities are denying that there was a disaster, but the media then exposed this disaster, and then foreign aid came in, World Health Program came in, World Food Program came in. So while we go for 10 days or 12 days, there's an ongoing legacy. In Syria, we went through amazing difficulties in Imtiaz. I don't know how we did it. We went into a war zone we were not allowed to go. He buys a government building that belongs to the opposition and converts it to a hospital. And now there's 3 hospitals there. It's an ongoing legacy, an ongoing work. So sometimes you have partnerships which you leave behind, and sometimes there's work that's continuing forever, and that's for about 12 years now. So that is what this gift of the givers medical missions are about. And as you volunteers will say, I know that there's really a sweetness in giving, and that giving is really the gift. Thank you, Imtiaz. Jazakumullah khair.
I think, you know, as you're saying, I think we're having good goals sometimes in terms of missions, but we don't pray for any disasters. I think, you know, I've been fortunate enough to get involved and reach a point where I joined Ahmed Bam as the initial deployment. So within 24, 36 hours as a doctor, but to join them as a search and rescue team, and some of them are here today, you know, I really take my hat off to them and the work that they do and the conditions that they experience going to a disaster zone so quickly. The medical teams usually follow, you know, whether it's a few days later, and they have a little bit of comfort knowing where to go when they land at the airport, knowing where they're sleeping, knowing what they're eating. But I think the search and rescue teams really, you know, are the pioneers in terms of this. And being there so early, sometimes, you know, in earthquake zones, I remember in Nepal, we were sleeping in the school hall. I think it must have been 2 a.m. And all the sleeping bags laid out, and I heard this loud sound. I mean, I can't describe it, but I looked down and it sounded like the ground was cracking underneath you. I can't describe it. And you look around, everyone sits up and you look around because it's an aftershock of a huge earthquake. And you look around and you want to be the first one to run for the door, but you also want to be the last one running for the door. And you look around and then it quietens down and then it settles and you go back to sleep. But I mean, those are the circumstances, and Ahmed can talk a bit more about how you know, he manages that and the perils of being the first team. So please come up, Ahmed Bam.
You have to just leave the mic there. Thank you for having us, and thanks to Wits Public School as well. You know, it's difficult to come on after 2 legends. I've spoken of 3 legends rather. But thanks for having me and giving me the opportunity to give a bit some insight into Gift of the Givers on the search and rescue side. Like Yaqub has indicated, you know, it takes a special type of volunteer to come on these missions as well. But to touch on our search and rescue team, we have also endless volunteers that want to be part of our team. Our volunteers come mostly from the public sector, and during the times they know that you know, they leave back their families, they come on these international missions, they don't know where they're going. But that's the spirit of South Africans. We've traveled all around the world, and when like Imtiaz has mentioned, Yaqub has mentioned, we are a unique nation, and we only see this when we deploy it all around the world. Because like Imtiaz has mentioned, I'll touch a little bit on Haiti as well. You know, arriving in Haiti, when people looked at us, like they look at you and they'll see one short Indian guy here, 2 big Afrikaners, one Zulu guy, one colored guy, and they'll say, where are you guys coming from? And we'll say, South Africa. They say, no, but you're not black. I say, you know, that's the thing. You don't know South Africa. You don't know the Ubuntu. You don't know the team that comes and the spirit we have in South Africa. Our medical rescue personnel are all around the world, and they go because they can adapt. And it's a special type of volunteer to do this type of work. Coming down to Imtiaz, when we responded down, I got involved with Gift of the Givers, a little bit quick history on it as well. Because I was by primary school, you know, I grew up in a town with 11 street lights and 5 speed bumps in the Northwest province. And in primary school, Imtiaz came to Zeres and he was collecting money for Bosnia at that time, you know.
Like Jacob has indicated, that spirit Imtiaz has and the drive. And it just came to us. And I did say, one day we have to go with Imtiaz and that opportunity will come. And it did come. And in 2005, that's when we deployed to Pakistan. It was a medical mission. So it wasn't really search and rescue focus, but we had the external search and rescue team go to Pakistan to assist, And I was got chosen. I went in the mountains, spent some time. We used to send the patients through to Cantonment General Hospital. And coming back from Pakistan, like Yaqub said, we started sitting under Imtiaz's leadership and guidance and said, we need to now aid into the services. We started with just primary healthcare, grew into all the specialities. Now let's aid and build on, and let's aid search and rescue. It's such an important component. And coming from Klerksdorp, a small town in Northwest Province, getting a call in 2010 and Imtiaz saying, get a team ready in 2 days, you deploy into Haiti, there's a huge earthquake, I'm sending a team, get 10 of your members ready. So I'm thinking, I never heard of Haiti. Let me see, where is Haiti? and as Imtiaz indicated, all those arrangements were made. We arrived in Haiti and we joined a NGO which is called Caritas or CRS. And arriving in Haiti and seeing this huge magnitude of earthquake and destruction, you must know that 40 minutes, it destroyed every ambulance, hospital, government service in Haiti. There was no law, every policeman, the prison, everything was destroyed. There were people just loitering around in Haiti. People didn't know what hit them. People, as we driving into Haiti, were just sitting on the floors. They didn't even know what really hit them, because imagine that's happened to a country at 40 seconds. But anyway, one important point also, with us Gift of the Givers, I am a government employee. I hope my list is not seen when I say these things, but we're a very new organization. And joining NGOs, we went into Haiti, into areas which no other people could go. Other teams that came with the United Nations or the countries couldn't work in areas we went. As NGOs, they respected us and we respected Caritas, and that's how we went because of our neutrality. And then the few days in Haiti, we arrived. I did give Imtiaz a call, I think the first night when we had some gunshots and things close to our camp, and he said, no, don't panic, everything's going to be okay. You guys just see how the situation is, and I'll prepare the medical team to join you soon, And that first few days was horrific. I took, as the search and rescue teams went to Haiti, we started doing searches, we went into all the schools and voids, and coming into the schools and voids, we found 200 to 300 people dead. We were just seeing death all over us. Even our search and rescue dog, we joined with the Mexican team, which was also an NGO, started getting depressed because of all the death that this live dog was seeing. And when we used to come back at night, we used to sit down and debrief. The team used to cry. It used to be quite hectic. I used to try and control them because they all have kids back home, and we're just finding dead people and sadness all around. Constantly checking to Imtiaz, used to say, give the team hope. Don't worry. You're going to see, you're going to find someone. And then just to tell you, this dog in the morning, we used to actually hide the rescuer. We used to make the dog go find the rescuer, and the dog used to be ready for the day. And we used to be up and running and ready to do searches. And 7 days after that, we went to the cathedral in Haiti, and this dog, which I named Omar, was a very old dog, detected a life scent and picked up a body, So we weren't sure, we listened, and then we said, we could hear a faint voice. And in the Gift of the Givers team, together with the Mexican team, we took about 8 hours and we rescued 69-year-old Ina Zizi. She was trapped for almost 7 to 8 days in the cathedral. And this dog was ecstatic. The team was so boosted and they were so encouraged as well, But what was amazing is Ina Zizi herself. Till today, Ina Zizi is alive. And she's still in Haiti, and we still get the reports from her as well. But once we rescued her, the first words when she came out, she obviously spoke French, and we didn't know really much French, but she said, God is one.
And that was just amazing. She said, you know, by the power of God, you've rescued us here. Then she told me, she looked at me in French and she told me, I love you and things like that. You know, getting this romance from a 69-year-old in that setting. But what was unique of Inez is, and that was what Imtiaz's words also came in that spirituality came in. She told us, imagine God chose you from Africa to come and save me the way in Haiti, where I've taught a team from South Africa would come and rescue me in Haiti. You know, and if you look deep into that and see how we connected, and that made me realize, look at the capacity of South Africa and what Africa has done to the world and where we are. Our search and rescue teams have provided search and rescue in over 15 countries already. Our teams are so well equipped. I mean, in 5 minutes, I'm probably over that, but they're so well equipped and so highly trained in so much different aspects. And it's not just about what you see in terms of, you know, the rescuing part in it. It's from going into these disasters, going into the unknown, preparing the mindset for that, setting up the teams. Because you know, doctors, difficult people, eh? They can't even put a plate up. They can't even cook. So we have to discipline them as well when we go out there. But that's what I was saying, you know. But the teams have goals, they respond, and it's different type of breed that goes out there. Haiti is just to wrap up on that as well. Our teams after that, our medical teams came, they did amazing work. Our rescue teams stayed behind, set up healthcare centers. And what's unique of us, we make things work, we mark a plan. We can adapt. When I said adaptability, I mean we can adapt. No international teams I've seen that side of the world can adapt. In Haiti as well, during the operations and things that we see there, the teams used to say, all the other teams, the US, the European teams used to say, call the South Africans. They'll be able to assist with the operations because they can take a building that's non-functional, put it into a state-of-the-art theater and adapt. And that's South Africa and Africa. And I don't think we really appreciate the quality and the people that we do have in this lovely continent of us called Africa. You know, it's really amazing to see that. And there's so much stories. It's just a time. It's quite limited to go into that. You know, to touch on our search and rescue division as well. Like Imtiaz has mentioned, we're the only team in the world. Once we deploy, we've got our backup rescue team with a medical team coming in, and we've evolved a lot. Like Kasim has mentioned, we've built up first just the rescue teams used to go. They used to scout the area and stuff. Now, with the medical teams joining us on those responses as we arrive, the medical teams are already working on the hospital, humanitarian aid is going on, the search and rescue side is going on, and no teams in the world do that. We are E to Z service that we offer. Coming back from Haiti also, we made the decision that every country we go to, we have a beyond the rubble approach. Because what happens when we go to international missions? People go there for 10 days, they take their pictures, everyone's happy, they come back home. That room still needs to, that house needs to get built, that room still needs to heal. And we started building from 2011, we went into Somalia and we have legacies in all these countries we went through. And up till today, we get the reports on all of that. Just to add a little bit, I mean, next time we'll do a proper showing things, but our one mission that we went to was the Philippines, was also a mission that we responded. It was Typhoon Haiyan that happened in the Philippines. We responded with a medical team, and also our medical teams are not in South Africa. We've got people that are from Denmark, we've got people in Canada, and we all meet together and deploy together that want to come and work with Gift of the Givers. But coming back to Philippines, same issue we had. Philippines is 1,000 islands, and the typhoon hit an island called Leyte. And we said, okay, we need to respond. We went to Manila with teams. I phoned Imtiaz, I told him, well, we can't get flights here, we can't move here, we can't do this, we can't do that. He said, I'm not doing what things will come right, do this, do that. We went in the end of the day, the one met one guy, told me, look, I got boats, I can take you across there and we'll be good. So I had a 17-man rescue team that went. I gave him Jazz a call and he says, what's your feeling? Don't worry, things will be okay. just make a prayer and get your feeling and go with it. And that's how he's groomed us and guided us, and he's still guiding us. I did that, the feeling went well. And then we went on a boat. It took us 9 hours to reach Leyte Island, right? The boat motors broke, I think, 3 times on the way to that island. And we came to a place called Panongpon. Then as we were coming, there was no medical teams that have been deployed, devastation, everything. People seeing these boats coming from far, they were waiting for us, and the mayor of the town came to us, Mayor Ramon. He looked at us and he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "No, we're the South African Search and Rescue Team. We're coming here to assist." He says, "Did you come with these boats from the main island to here?" So I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you know this ocean? No one has ever done this before. This is the most shark-infested oceans in the world. And you guys are right there." But as we came, and like I said, the guidance is there. The spirituality is there, and the belief is there. And as we came there, I mean, the interventions we done in Panongpon were phenomenal. I think they built the whole, like a monument there, in remembrance of Gift of the Givers, and still keeps in touch with us. So yeah, with search and rescue teams as well, is to have all the places Jakub has mentioned, the type of volunteers we have. But also, we never also, we can say we've reached here. With India's guidance as well, he's indicated we need to become better. We need to become more better equipped. Let's see what more we can do. And Gift of the Givers has done much more. Our other response was a milestone for us, where I don't see any other team in the world, I'll end on this, have done this, is when Cyclone Idai hit Mozambique. I know we all have seen what Cyclone Idai done to Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Malawi. It was the first time in Gift of the Givers history we deployed 3 teams simultaneously to 3 countries. And what happened in Mozambique, the medical teams were also, they did come after, with a lot of search and rescue teams and partners that joined us. We really did a huge impact there, but we needed to get better with ourselves. In that response, we said, "This floods, what do you need? Helicopters." I gave Imtiaz a call, he told me how much helicopters. So Imtiaz, the cost was, how much helicopters? We sent in 2 of our helicopters, but the South African military was there and worked with us. And during that Cyclone Idai, we did a lot of interventions in terms of reaching many people in terms of humanitarian aid. And as I mentioned, it takes a certain type of person and volunteer to come. And as South Africa and Africa, we should be proud of who we are as volunteers and really appreciate who we are. And I mean, institutions like this and other institutions, that's where we come from. And it's just amazing how we all gel, we go multicultural, religion doesn't play a role, nothing, we dare to serve humanity. Thanks a lot from my side. I think there's just so much to go into, but that's just my little side from the search and rescue. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ahmed. I think Ahmed's being slightly modest as well. India has built it up in his speech. When Anna Zizi was pulled out of the rubble alive after how many days? 8 days. 8 days. It was the first live rescue by an African search and rescue team ever. So I think it made history. I mean, that's something really that the perseverance paid off. So well done. I mean, Ahmed talks about the first night in Haiti in the camp when, I mean, I wasn't there, I was not there, thankfully, but he says there were gunshots. And Ahmed, obviously, like I would be, panic phoned into us and said, there's gunshots. So he said, hang on, are they shooting at you or are they shooting somewhere else? So he said, no, they're shooting somewhere else. He said, no, you're fine, don't worry. It's me. So I think, it was just the way emotions go. So I think, the doctors are lazy. I think I agree with him. I think I was on the other side until I joined the search and rescue teams, and I realized the effort going into setting up camp, getting water, getting food, getting systems in place. So sometimes when the doctors come, they act a bit like spoiled brats. But I think the learning, Ahmed is trying to discipline them into learning. So thank you, Ahmed. One more speaker before we close. I think we are going to invite Professor Priya Soma Pillai, who's the head of Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at the Steve Biko Academic Hospital and University of Pretoria. Yes, this is being hosted at WITS, but in terms of inclusivity, as Imtiaz always preaches, we've got a speaker from the University of Pretoria. Dr.
Good evening, everyone. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed guests. I wasn't really prepared for a speech today. I'm here to deliver something to Dr. Suleiman, and so I'll keep it short. It's no secret that Imtiaz and his team of the Gift of the Givers are a blessing to our country. We live in a society, unfortunately, where a lot needs fixing, and it's very easy to often lose hope. But Imtiaz has been nothing short of a superhero. Whenever people are the most vulnerable, Imtiaz is there. And 2 days ago, I messaged Imtiaz to inform him that the University of Pretoria would like to honor him by giving him a blazer. I asked Imtiaz for the size, and he said, I haven't worn a blazer in years. And I think that just shows us the type of man that Imtiaz is. In a world where we often look to our leaders in suits to lead us, he remains there at the front line, and he's always there to lead us in difficult times. Imtiaz is always available. We were one of the 210 hospitals that Imtiaz and the team assisted during the difficult COVID pandemic. I work at Steve Biko. My colleagues from Steve Biko, Professor Fatima Farouk from Critical Care and Dr. Farid Abdullah from Internal Medicine are both here. And we're very grateful to you, Imtiaz, and to your team. I think if it wasn't for you, South Africa would have lost a lot more lives. So Imtiaz, on behalf of our Dean, Professor Tiaan de Jager, I'd like to present this little gift to you.
The next slide is away now. What are the size of problems? I don't know my size. I can tell you that size.
I've got another size in my car.
That's disaster, Mary. Oh, better for the University of Natal. I'm telling that another university is still in. My arm's always long.
Yeah.
Nice size.
Fatima, do you want to come? Farid? Thank you very much. Thank you.
You can take one. Yeah. Very nice. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And then-
Thank you. As Imtiaz had mentioned, every night on a mission, it's debriefing, it's open floor. So in keeping with that spirit, I'd like to open the floor to the volunteers, to the media, anyone who wishes to say anything, any comments, any of the team members. Shafika, you're looking at me very shyly. It's open. I mean, it's just an opportunity. You don't have to take it, but we all know the value that we place on these missions. We all have it in our hearts. And each one of us have a unique perspective of what we experience, and we carry something special in our hearts towards India. So from everyone, we just want to say thank you as well. I think this is going to close the night's event. It's fitting of me to then thank everyone. I'd like to extend my sincerest thanks to Prof. Shireen Mahdi and WITS University for co-hosting this important event. I think his support staff, Antonia, Pranisha, everyone involved have been fantastic. Thank you for the lovely evening. To you, Imtiaz, I think thank you for following your spiritual teacher's guidance all that time ago and developing Gift of the Givers into the proudly South African icon that it has become. Thank you. Our speakers, Dr. Yaqub Ishaq, Ahmed Bam, Prof. Soma Pillai from the University of Pretoria. Thank you for your words. And then to the volunteers, supporters, everyone is here as a supporter. And then beside media, even though we call them media, I think Imtiaz has shown that they're more than our journalists on missions. They help us, they confidence, they counsel us, they give us information, they give us perspective. So thank you for being here tonight. As we leave from this evening, my prayer and wish for each and every one of us is that we continue to work and strive hard wherever we may find ourselves, so that we may aspire to become the best of mankind through benefiting mankind. Thank you. As everyone's leaving, Imtiaz, Vitz has arranged a birthday cake that we'd like you to cut. So if we can do that, if everyone can go around the cake. And then all the volunteers, the media have requested we take a picture. So if we can gather together, even around the cake, we can take some pictures.